All right, in this video, we're going to look at dividing complex numbers. So dividing complex numbers does present a bit of a challenge. For instance, if we have like 5 minus I divided by 2 plus 3I, how in the world do we do that? I haven't seen anything like that before, and definitely didn't see anything like that in elementary school with division. So one of the biggest issues is in math, and this was passed before I had a chance to vote on it, long before I was born. The reason is that the denominator will have a square root in it, because remember, I is the square root of -1, which is a big no-no in math. Again, I did not get to vote on that. They got that through before I was born because they knew I would vote against it and say it's okay to leave a square root in the denominator, but they hurried up and got that law passed. So for instance, we have 3 minus I over 2 plus I. Remembering that I is actually the square root of -1, it becomes 3 minus the square root of -1 over 2 plus the square root of -1. Now, this definitely doesn't make it look any easier as far as I'm concerned. But in math, we don't like having square roots or any kind of roots in the denominator. So we'll learn about how to deal with that in a future video. But this will actually give you a little bit of a sneak peek as far as what to do when we get to that point. So to remedy this and to fix it, we need to find what is known as the conjugate of the denominator. So with dividing complex numbers, we're going to start by focusing on the denominator, and we got to find the conjugate, which seems really difficult, but it's actually one of the easier things to do in this entire section. So the conjugate of a complex number, such as a plus bi, is a minus bi, and vice versa. So whatever's in between the two terms, you switch it from plus to minus or minus to plus. So 5 plus 2i becomes 5 minus 2i. -7 minus 3i becomes -7 plus 3i. Positive 7 plus 2i becomes 7 minus 2i. So again, switch the plus to a minus. -3 plus I becomes -3 minus I. Notice the real number, the 7 and -3 in this case, we don't change anything about them, just the imaginary one. 5 minus 4i becomes 5 plus 4i. So when you multiply complex conjugates, such as 5 minus 4i times 5 plus 4i, you'll always get a real number, just like in example 3c. So in the last video, when we did, I believe it was 7 minus 7i times 7 plus 7i, those are conjugates of each other. And you'll always get a real number because, as we saw in that example, the imaginary ones, I believe it was 49i and -49i, they cancel each other out. And that'll happen if you multiply 7 plus 2i times 7 minus 2i, or -3 plus I times -3 minus I. You'll be left with nothing but just a regular run-of-the-mill real number. So to divide complex numbers, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. Because if we multiply one part of a fraction by something, we got to multiply everything in that fraction by something. So that's the way it works out. It's like in biology class, as far as dividing complex numbers, you got to multiply. Well, cell division, they multiply. So, go figure. So 3 minus 2i divided by 2 plus 2i, or 2 plus I rather, and write our answer in a plus bi form. So again, that was, we're going to divide 3 minus I by 2 plus I. So first, let's find the conjugate of 2 plus I, the denominator here, which is 2 minus I. So we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 2 minus I. So the good news is, if the multiplication stuff wasn't that bad for you, the division stuff's going to be pretty easy for you too. You just got to be careful, watch calculation mistakes, things like that. It's the little things that'll get you with these kinds of problems. So multiplying everything out, 3 minus I times 2 minus I, when you multiply it out, combine their like terms, you get 5 minus 5i. In the denominator, 2 plus I times 2 minus I, when you multiply it out, combine your like terms, you're going to get 5. And then 5 minus 5i divided by 5, well, 5 over 5 is 1, -5i over 5 is minus I. So our answer to 3 minus I divided by 2 plus I is just 1 minus I. All right, that about does it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.